Today we're going to be looking at a bauble. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel Kazzalistic, and hi to my new subscribers. Thank you very much for joining me. So today we're going to be looking at this bauble. Now I will say this has come out way bigger than I expected. I did use a slightly bigger hook than was recommended. I'm regretting that a little bit now, but this is basically what it looks like. So this is way too big for my tree. I only have a very small, it's about 3-4 foot tree, so this is going to actually, if I put it out the camera you can see how big it is. This is going to swamp my tree. So I'm actually going to hang this from one of the hooks, one of the picture hooks we've got up on in the front room, because we have lots of little signs similar to the one above my head. So I'm going to hang that on one of the hooks, so it'll be sort of more like a wall decoration, because it's come out quite large. But I do like it, just for the record. So the pattern I've used is called Crochet Bauble, and it is a signet pattern, so that's what it looks like. I will put the link for the pattern obviously down in the description. So the pattern actually calls for a 3.25mm hook, which is something I don't have. The 1/4 and 3/4 sizes are quite hard to get over here in the UK, so I would have had to choose in between a 3 or a 3.5mm one. I was being a bit lazy. I had my favourite 4mm hook to hand, and I used that. So mine, I have upped the hook size quite a bit. You will need 5 different colours. Obviously they've recommended particular signet yarns. I didn't have those, so mine is a bit of a mix of Mariner, Stylecraft and King Cole. So I've mixed my brands. So you'll need to know, for the pattern you will need to know how to do a chain, how to recognise a chain space, how to do a US double crochet, which is a UK treble, a US single crochet, which is a UK double crochet, how to work in the round, and how to slip stitch, and obviously recognise the stitch from the previous round. So the pattern consists of 11 rounds. There are slight mistakes or things that it's not the best written pattern in the world in places. For example, it says round 10 and then the following round says round 10 again, so that was a little bit confusing. In fact, I actually missed a round, not realising the first time, and I had to pull back a couple of rows and redo it. I made a mistake. Now on the material section it just quotes the 5 yarns that you'll need and the hook. What I didn't find out until the end of the pattern, I thought it was just made using stuffing. It actually says place both halves of the shell, which is obviously what you've made, around the polystyrene ball and stitch together using the long tail from one of the shells. And basically you stretch it over polystyrene ball. I didn't know that, so obviously I hadn't bought one in preparation, and I was cursing the pattern because it's not in the material section. So that is one huge criticism I do have. So I have used toy stuffing. So mine obviously hasn't gone as an oval shape as it would have done had I got a polystyrene ball to obviously mould it round. I'm still fiddling with it, trying to get the shape right. So I think it's going to be one of those projects we fiddle for a while until you're completely happy with how it looks. So as I've said, I've used a, if I can pull it out, I have used my favourite 4mm hook. There we go. And then the yarns I have used. Now this was actually a scrap from some of my charity yarn, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it. This was actually sent to me by Carol Serby. So thank you, Carol. As you can see, there's still some left, so the rest of it will go to charity. It was just, I didn't have any other purple, so I'm hoping she doesn't mind with this. It's King Cole Baby Big Value DK. You remember that I did make several projects out of this ball of yarn. It was a 100-gram ball, which has 320 yards, 290 meters, 100% acrylic, and the shade is 296, and it's called Majestic. Try and do it sort of focus on there rather than me. No, not going to focus. It's 296 Majestic. I have discovered that my last 2 or 3 videos, couldn't work out why it wasn't focusing properly. I'd actually knocked the setting on the top, so I changed the setting accidentally. So I'm hoping my last video and this video is going to look a bit better because it's back on the original setting I had it on, and I'm hoping that I don't accidentally knock it. It's what the only trouble when you're trying to do things amongst other chores. Little mistakes like that happen quite a lot. So the purple is this colour here. The second round I've then done blue, which is Mariner Double Knit. Shade C-043 Royal. Oh, there we go. I was going to say I didn't think it was going to focus then, so I've got some of that. The following colour was Starcraft Special DK, which I showed. Whoop! Oh dear. I get very clumsy when I'm tired. Excuse me 1 second. I dropped it on the floor. I get very, very clumsy when I'm tired, and I'm very, very tired, as I've explained in the other video. So, my last video. So, Starcraft Special DK. Shade is 1018, and it is called Saffron. So, it's sort of a goldy yellow colour. And then the next colour, which again is one I've used recently, is Mariner Sparkle Double Knit. Again, this is my own stash, and it is C-032 Red. Again, 100%, sorry, 97%. This one is 97% acrylic, 3% Lurex. All the others are 100% acrylic. And then the last one, which is this green shade, again is Mariner Double Knit in the shade 091 in Emerald. There we go. Focuses. There we go. So that's all the yarn I've used. So as you can see, I have mixed brands. You can do that as long as they're all roughly the same thickness. It should work. Of course, because it's Signet, they have recommended using their own DK yarn, which I will say Signet is nice to work with, but I only had one Signet yarn in. So basically you work this in the round. Now it's made in 2 halves, up to this point here where the purple is, which is the last round, and you then stitch the 2 together. I've sewn them. As you can see, it's less ball shape. It's a bit, it still needs sort of squishing around these bits because it's got quite sort of a flat edge. So I'm still trying to get it into shape, so I'll be fiddling with that for a while, I think. So the pattern, obviously I've used 4mm hook. So round 1 basically is a chain 5, slip stitch into the first stitch, the first chain, sorry. You chain 3 and then you do double crochets, this is US terminology, into the chain ring. That's round 1. Round 2 basically you're doing, once you've done your initial
obviously stitch that it tells you to do. You'll do chain 1 and 1 single crochet between each of the double crochet stitches from the previous round. So this again is in US terminology. So that would so that would be a UK double if you're in the UK. The third round again will be a chain 1 and 1 single crochet in each of the chain spaces that you created in the previous round. Then rows 4 to 7 are basically all the same, which consist of chain 1s and then 2 single crochets, US terms, or double crochets if you're in the UK, in each of the chain spaces from the previous row. So that's rows 4 to 7. Row 8, or round 8 I should say, will consist of 1 double crochet, this is US terminology, into the second single crochet that you did in the groups of 2. And then your next stitch will be 2 double crochet into the chain space, and then 1 double crochet into the second single crochet of this cluster stitch from the previous row, 2 double crochet in the chain space, and so on. God, I'm getting ever so tongue-tied today. Rounds 9 and 10 are the same. And this is where I did make a little mistake on my first go, and I had to partly pull back. So rounds 9 and 10, you do 1 double crochet between the 1 and the 2 double crochet. So if you see here, you've got 1 double crochet stitch, then 2. So you will do, if you can see, you've got 1 double crochet between the 2 and the 1, and then 2 double crochet between the 1 and the 2. Hopefully that makes sense. It's easy sometimes to show. So you do that for 2 rounds. So so it's yellow and the red in my case. And then round 11, which I've actually got marked at 10 again, even though it's round 11, you will do 1 single crochet between the 1 DC and 2 DC. So one between the 1 DC, I'm sorry, so that 1 DC and 2 DC. And the camera decides to focus right there. And then chain 1, and then 1 single crochet between the 2 DC and 1 DC, which would be in here. So right there. And that's it. You make 2 of those. Place the 2 halves together. Now, like I said, I have used stuffing. Didn't realise it was going to be as big as this. I would have used a much smaller hook. And also didn't realise, because it didn't say in the materials list before I started, and I tend not to read patterns all the way through, because quite often when you just read them, until you actually get to that point, sometimes to me it just doesn't make sense until I get to that point in the pattern. It does actually say it for the assembly bit at the end, and I just hadn't read that far. Looked at materials, thought I'd got everything I needed, and so I have to say the free signet patterns, I've done 2 now, and there's been a lot of mistakes and things aren't very clearly explained and things, so I'm not sure. I have got some other free signet patterns I'm now like, I don't know if I want to do them or not, you know. You know, I can decide for them. I think if you're a beginner, they would be a no-no, if I'm honest. Anyway, I've done stuffing, so what I did is I stitched 3/4 of the way round. It's basically, you can slip stitch it with your hook, or you could, I've whip stitched it just because it's quicker and easier for me to do. And then I stuffed it and finished off, weaved in at the first end, and then it actually says to do a chain 40 for the hanging loop. I still use I didn't attach new yarn, I used what was left over of the tail, and I did a chain 20, and to me I think that's more than enough hanging loop for what you need, because it does depend on where you're going to hang it. So I did a chain 20, and then obviously slip stitched it back into the row, and weaved in my ends, finished off and weaved in my ends. So that's basically all there is to it. There was one round, I think where it was now, yeah, round 3, where it says repeat from the asterisk 15 times. It's actually referring from the asterisk from the previous row, but it doesn't actually say that. So there are little things like that where I was kind of like, what? But there isn't a place to, and then I realised they meant from the previous row, but they don't actually say that. So there are little things like that you do need to look out for in the pattern. Like I say, it's not completely undecipherable. I managed to do it, but it did take a little bit of head work, particularly with rounds 9, 10 and 11, well 9 and 10 particularly, with doing the stitches between 1 DC and 2 DC and so on. Got a little bit confused in how they'd explained it, but once I got my head around it, it made a lot of sense. So that's my main sort of criticism. It also says to repeat things 14 times in places, 15 times in others. At the start, those counts did add up. As I got sort of by round 8, it said 14 times. Now the repeat was a lot more than 14 times. Now either my stitch count was wildly out, which I doubt, because I was counting very, very carefully at the start. They only actually give you the stitch count up to round 8. For rounds 9, 10 and 11, they don't give you a stitch count at the end. So round 8, I did have the correct number of stitches, but I had more than 14 repeats as I worked it out, unless I've counted it wrong. And rounds 9, 10, 11, I couldn't tell if the stitch count was right because it didn't give one. So that's sort of my main criticisms of the pattern. Other than that, it was fine. Like I say, probably not for complete beginner, but if you're intermediate and above and you can sort of figure things out for yourself, then absolutely fine. I did enjoy making it. The other thing the pattern does say is to join the yarn as you finish the previous round. Now that's something I don't normally struggle with, but because of the way the stitches are, it was quite tricky. So if I show you sort of here, you get this, it just didn't look quite right. So I did what they suggested up to about here, and I just didn't like that there were little bumps, and you could see where you joined it. So this side, I fastened off each round and then just added it like I normally would, sort of, with a chain, sort of slip stitched it and then chained it on, and I think that's actually given a much neater result. That's given me even stitches all around. I haven't got any horrible bits like that side where it just doesn't look quite right. That's just me being fussy. So this side will be on display. So that really was down to personal preference. I just found it a little bit too fiddly and doing it the other way, so I changed it for the other side. Learning process, as a lot of things are. So that's it. So one bauble. I think it's come out quite nice. I do like my nice bright colours for Christmas, reds and greens and stuff. So, and I like the fact that the red's got a little bit of sparkle, so it does catch the light. So that's it for today. So I'm recording this on Thursday, 14th of December. This video will be going up on Saturday. So I have done a life update in my previous video, which was a yarn haul from Jan Carruthers. So there is really nothing to tell you because literally only sort of 17 minutes has passed since I finished the last video. Literally put the stuff down, picked up and started recording again. So there has been absolutely nothing happening in my life since I recorded the last one in real time terms, but of course for you guys there will be some stuff going on. I will have had a hospital appointment since the last video that went up, but obviously I haven't been to the appointment yet. That's this afternoon for me. So the update about that will be next week. So that's it for today. Sorry there's no life update, but you have got an extra video out of me this week. Considering I wasn't even sure I would get the normal 2 up, you've actually got 3 up this week, so I think I've done quite well. So that's it. So I will catch up with you again on Tuesday of next week, hopefully, all being well. So until next time, remember to stay well, happy crafting. I hope your Christmas preparations are going along nice and smoothly without too much stress. And until next time, remember to stay true to yourself. Bye.